Welcome, welcome everyone to our beautiful NuWave Leadership YouTube channel. And today, myself, Sabrina Lindner, and Vishnupriya and Aristo, both the founders of NuWave Leadership, are here again to share another beautiful question that we channel through the collective of one. And the answer, of course, that is always the most exciting part of it. And we are jumping right into it now. Vishnupriya, over to you. What was the next question that we asked the collective of one?
Yes, so this is question number 12, and this is one of the most interesting questions of all. And since maybe I shared in one of the previous videos that I was a person who was very interested in enlightenment, and from there, this is the next step of that question, I feel, which is let me read the question first. So the question was, what is your perspective around the relationship between source? Here, the word source represents, however you want to call it, the creator, the God, the universe, any word, right? So, what is the relationship between source and human beings, and source and you, for example? How would you define this relationship? So, this is one of the most interesting questions, especially for me. I have been the spiritual person taking the spiritual journey, trying to find the very first start of it was me searching in Google, why did God create human beings? So this was a question that I typed into Google like 5, 6 years back. That's where the entire spiritual journey of mine began. So, which means that I had been always curious about this connection between God and human beings, or source and human beings. But this little answer completely changed everything around my perspective around it. So, over to you, Sabrina. Tell us what the COO told us.
Yes, so let's hear the answer. That is a very high level question. Let me make an attempt to create an image for you, and we can go into this topic again at a later time. But just imagine that source really is everything. So, whatever you define as a God or source or the creator, or whatever other words you have for it, it is really the energy that flows through this space, which you can call universe if you like, or you can call this planet. And it flows and it creates and it flows and it creates as it flows. And that is all there is to do. There's no other purpose other than just flowing and creating. And whenever that energy gets a little worn out, if you would like such a term, or contaminated or dirtified, then there are certain processes that kick in, which human beings are also a part of to purify it. And then it can again flow freely and beautifully and create each day, or, there's not really time, but just to make it a little more easy for you to grasp. So the relationship is really that this energy, which is the source that flows and sustains and creates everything, is in a beautiful relationship with you humans who support the purification process. And at the same time, you are also the creations of that energy. So it's an amazing interplay, and we are just another part. We are just another way of purifying, another way of expressing the creations of that energy that flows through the universe. Does that help you a little? Was what they asked at the end of this answer, and then we continued the conversation, which you will hear in the next videos. So over to you, Vishnupriya. What came up for you as you listened to this answer?
Oh wow. So there are so many different schools of thought around this, right? And I have been a person who has gone through all of that. Certain schools of thought that tells you that this is who God is. You have to go to the temple and pray, and then God would, kind of bless you with what you ask for. If you're so that's the culture that I come from as well, where that was the common childhood belief with which I was praying to God, that we have to light the lamp at house every day and ask for our wishes. And only if you do that, God would bless you with what you ask for. God would keep you healthy and all of that um, school of thought in general. And then when I started my holistic healing journey, my spiritual journey, I also went through so many different kinds of schools of thought around this. One was like I guess the more I was learning, the more different schools of thought took me closer and closer to the fact that the source and the human beings are one and the same. So that was the kind of ultimate enlightenment teachings when I started looking at it. It told me that, especially the ancient Indian spiritual texts, tells that you are Brahma or you are the creator, for example. So it ranges, so much. All these different schools of thought is kind of a ladder, I would say, starting from that, God is superior to you to all the way until you are God. So all that range is there in between that. But here, what I really love about COO's answer is that oneness perspective and also the perspective that everything is energy. And now, from this answer, how I would explain it is basically the source or the God or the creator is simply the entire energy as we envision it. So, for example, let's use ocean as a metaphor. Let's say you're sitting in a beach, for example, and let's say you are seeing this endless waters, right, with oceans and waves, the entire ocean or the entire beach. And you can imagine this entire set of water that flows is, for example, the source. And then the source actually becoming these little waves and kind of flowing in all different colors and shapes and textures and all different forms. So, this is how you can envision this entire universe as just one big flow of energy, and what we call as therefore the universe now becomes the source, the God, the creator. And then, as you can imagine, this energy then is taking different forms and shapes in all different ways. So, therefore, even your hand and the air around you, everything is just energy. And this energy is the God, is the source. So, God is not a separate being, right? So that's the 3D beliefs that everything is separate, all of us are separate, and therefore God is separate, right? So rather, it's like again, all is one concept, the oneness aspect, and it is that same energy that is flowing through you as well. You are also part of that energy. Also, one other word here is purifying that energy, right? So every time it's getting contaminated and dirtified, we as human beings are in the process of purifying that energy. So that is this little different explanation of the relationship between source and humans. Over to you, Sabrina.
Yes, for me, the interesting thing here is that, again, the answer of the collective of one is like removes all the boxes that previously were also in my world existing. And I come from a place where, most people would say there is no God, there is no source, and it is wrong to believe in anything other than just what you can see, perceive in your reality. And for a long time, there were those boxes in my world which would say, like, to some degree, I was taught to respect when people have religions, but to another degree, it was always like, but somehow these kind of people are a little delusioned for believing there's something else. And then when I started exploring spirituality, I was like, there seems to be some kind of energy, but I couldn't really explain it. I couldn't really grasp why there would, in some spiritual places, for example, be a certain very interesting energetic feel in the air that I could sense when I would walk into those places. And in fact, I'm being told that when I was a baby, I used to love going into churches, and everyone would judge my parents for that because, the community they come from, you shouldn't like churches simply from the historic, story that is being told of all the damage that also, especially Christian churches, caused in our world. So now I understand that it had a lot to do with the energetic flow in certain places. And when we listen to the collective of one's answer, it's really all about it. Everything is energy. So again, there's nothing good, bad, wrong, right. It's just all created from that energy. And therefore, there's no difference even between someone who is spiritual or a spiritual perception and an atheist perception. It's all just different flows of energy. But in the end, the truth here is that there's no disconnection, right? Again, all judgments, all boxes, or hierarchies, everything is removed and we are just all energy. And I absolutely love that perspective. And again, the liberation that can come when we truly adopt that point of view. Over to you, Vishnupriya. Anything to add?
Yes. So overall, I would like to, in summary, it's also one of these statements that I've heard in one of those ancient Indian spiritual texts, which is there is nothing other than source that exists in this entire universe, and the universe itself is source, and therefore you and me are, the source, and the entire energy, entire universe is the source. So that would be, in simple words, the summary of that particular question. Hope that helped. Hope it also helped you let go of any boxes that you might have put yourself into. So please do like, share, and subscribe. And if any of these answers excites you, and if this is something that you want to experiment, as we call as the 5D living, then please join us in our 5D living experiment. Please reach out to us if you're interested. We will see you in the next video.
See you soon.